Hello folks, this is just a short video. I wanted to talk about something very quickly here. There's a lot of talk recently, I'm sure you've probably heard, or many of you heard, going on with gaming journalism and possible things going on that they're not disclosing and not being honest in reviews. I'm not going to go into that very much. But, it come to my mind that I wanted to talk about this for a while because I want to be upfront with you guys because I always want to be transparent. I think transparency is super important. And I feel like if journalists or people who do what I do, I'm not a journalist, but I cover games, I let's try games, I do some reviews, and I feel like if we're transparent with you folks, reasonable people will understand and can make their own decisions. So for example, if I'm like best friends with somebody who develops a game, I'm going to say up front, look, I'm reviewing this game, but I'm also best friends with them. I don't think my bias is going to interfere, but you make the call. Here's my review, right? So just to get this out here, and I honestly didn't even think about this, but the more I talked to other people and thought about it, I thought, you know what? Better safe than sorry. Let's throw it out there. Whenever I do a let's try for a game, most of the time these indie games, and sometimes not, but most of the time indie games, I always, well, not always, but I almost always get a review copy. In other words, they give me a copy for free to cover. Now, again, I didn't ever think about this because I've always known that's how it worked in other mediums. So for example, when a movie reviewer reviews a movie, I know they didn't pay to go watch the movie. They got a free screening. So I didn't think about it. But again, talking to other people, I thought, well, maybe there's people out there who aren't aware of how this works. So I wanted to be upfront. If I do a let's try, you can pretty much assume that I got a press copy. Now, if you think that me getting a press copy is going to color my opinion, that's totally your right to believe so. And obviously you can, take what I say with a grain of salt. So I will say that in the past, I feel that I've been too lenient on indie games, and I feel that this is a problem I've complained about, but yet did it myself, and I'm trying to fix. Where if I'm playing an indie game that I'm really not liking or find fault with, I feel like I kind of pull my punches. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to say this game's a piece of shit. You should never play this garbage. But I'm going to be more harsh on them. So I'm working on doing that. But anyway, regardless of that. So again, heads up, anytime or most times that I'm doing a let's try, just assume I got a press copy. If there's anything more than that, if I feel that I'm a friend with the developer or with somebody who gave me the copy, or if there's any other reason that I feel that there's a possible conflict of interest. Again, if I have a personal relationship with them, or if they say something like, well, if you cover this game, we'll give you a beta to this game. Something like that, where there's kind of like there's something in it for me or what have you. I'll disclose that at the beginning of the video verbally. It's not going to be hidden in the description of the video. It's not going to be an annotation unless I forget and have to add it later. I will say it up front. And also, down the road, maybe when I get a bigger channel, maybe some company will say, hey, cover our game and we'll, give you this. We'll like pay you, or we'll do a sponsored video or something like that. Again, I will definitely do that if let me rephrase. I will do that if I like the company or if I like the possibility, if I don't feel it's too skeezy. But again, I will also do it with a caveat that I tell people up front, this is a sponsored game, or this is a endorsed game, or whatever it is. Because again, I think, and Total Biscuit made a great post about this, but transparency is super important. Some people will be okay with that, and some people won't. I want you guys to make that decision. I think I'll be unbiased, but I'm me, right? And I can't really honestly judge my own bias. So anytime I see any potential conflict like that, I'm going to be upfront about it. So, and you might say, well, why don't you mention that you have a press copy now going forward in front of all your let's tries? Honestly, because I'll probably forget to say it. And I don't want to build the expectation that I'll always say it, because quite honestly, I think I'll probably forget most times. I'm going to try to get in the habit of saying it just to say it. But again, kind of a heads up. So again, I just think it's, especially right now, and I think especially going forward, there's some serious trust issues going on between gamers and the media, and us YouTubers are somewhere in between on the media scale. But I still think you know, a lot of you folks listen to my videos for my opinions on the game, my honest opinions, and I want to make sure that you trust my opinions and you value those opinions, because if you don't respect me and you don't respect my opinions, then what's the point? And again, I think if I'm upfront and honest about any things that comes up like this, I think we can build that trust, and you can know that if there's a conflict of interest, if you think it's too much, you're like, oh, you know, I don't like he's getting paid to cover this game. Totally understandable. You don't have to watch that video. You don't have to listen to my opinion on that video, and I'll totally understand your opinion. And I'll respect it, and we'll, you know, go back to, you know, just watching the Let's Tries of games that I'm not being paid for. But that's way down the road. I'm way too small to be wasting time with that. But anyway, this video, as always, turned out a little longer than I had anticipated. Sorry about that. So if you have any questions about that, definitely leave it in the comments below. The last thing I wanted to say is, if I do make a mistake, if I cover a game and you think there's a conflict, like you see me talking to this person on Twitter a lot, this developer on Twitter a lot, or it's a PR person for a game that I talk to a lot, and you're like, oh, I think this is a conflict, and you didn't mention it. Tell me about it. Mention it to me on Twitter or say it in the comments. Don't be an asshole. Don't be like, oh, you corrupt bastard. Oh, you're sleeping with the enemy, blah, blah, blah. Just be cool about it. Say, hey, man, I see a possible conflict here because you seem buddy-buddy with this developer and you didn't really mention it. What's up with that? And I'll address it, and I'll be rational and logical with you. Just be cool about it. And if I agree, you know what, you're right, I should have said that, I'll throw an annotation at the beginning of the video. And honestly, I think you can add audio to the beginning of a video now. Anyway, if you can, I'll put a disclosure in there. Anyway, again, I'm rambling. If you have any questions or comments, definitely listen on, or post them in the comments below. Thank you guys for continuing to watch, and I'll see you next time.